Okay, so just start with some rotating, just one-handed. Nice and light, keeping the elbow down, the shoulder back. Just a few, and then changing side. Keep it very light. That's it. Good. Changing side again. And just slightly increase the tension. Increase the rotation against the joint. So try and go as fully as you can, maintaining the grip, the little fingers. Just take it as far as you can. So really kind of winding the joint up. So, and then changing sides again. It's really increasing the rotation. Normally we work like in a good structure. So in a sense, keeping the shoulder down, the elbow dropped, and the wrist kind of mobile. What you can do is work against the structure as well, or work with a structure where you're being taken out. So the two directions you take are really like an ikkyo. The joint starts to come out this way. The arm starts to be rotated this way. And the other way is a bit like a kotegaishi movement, so, or a shihonage. So these two kind of major arcs in the body, the major techniques, the ikkyo and the shihonage this way. This is using the arm to find a kind of gross, big arc through the body. So just explore, in this case, slightly coming out of the structure. Explore first actually what happens if I try and maintain a structure or maintain solidity in the body, and the structure and the arm itself gets taken out. Now in this case, the shoulder comes out of joint and the elbow comes out of joint, and the body starts to really disform itself. This is really uncomfortable. And then the other way is the same. This comes out, the shoulder starts to deform out of the structure, and this is really uncomfortable for the body. So play with actually being uncomfortable a little bit. This is what happens when I'm kind of resisting against something, and I'm making the arms kind of independent, and I'm trying to fix the body and be solid. So try that both sides, kind of rotating out of the structure, and you really feel actually quite uncomfortable. Yeah. Especially this way, you'll feel also if I'm in a kind of structure I'm trying to hold, all the rib cage starts to collapse here. This starts to collapse, and the structure starts to really deform in a really bad way. The opposite, in this case, the opposite rib starts to really go into an uncomfortable position. Good. And then what I want you to do is just play with the same rotations and then allow the whole body to absorb it. So what you want to do is deform the structure, but actually in a way where the body is actually comfortable in the movement. So you can do this both ways. So it's really allowing the body to deform, but follow the structure. So deforming without actually going really out of the structure in an uncomfortable way. So just play with it slightly. That's it. And again, once you've got kind of used to it, you can start to increase the resistance, so increase the speed, and then really have a sense of coiling into it, coiling into the structure. You can also increase the load on the body by moving down the jaw. So the further I move down the jaw, so the more jaw on this side, as I rotate out, the more weight in the body. So this will increase the load. So if you're kind of comfortable with it, you can also go to this way. So just slightly increase the load. And the other way, the opposite's true. So I need to be in this position, and then the roll comes this way. Be careful of the wrist on this side. This way. That's it. Good. Okay, good. And then going to a rotating movement this way, and just go back into a kind of good structure. So a solid structure, finding the ground, really trying to find the hip work, and press a kind of wave through the jump. So here you're working in a good structure as if you're doing technique. So really with the ground, motivating from the center, and then into the hands. So really have a sense of waving from the ground. That's it. Good. That's it. Good. And as we did yesterday, start to play with the feet. So start to move the feet. So playing with the rolling movement this way. Really with a sense of the ground. So when you start with the steps, really have a sense of pressing from one foot into the other. So really have a sense of filling and emptying in the feet. Pressing in a good structure. Pressing into the ground. The slower you do this, the better. So really have a sense of peeling the feet from the ground. So really slow. And again, use a really clear, balanced structure as you make the rotations. Start to change the angles, so moving in rotation. Moving linearly, and moving circularly. Really with a sense of pressing from the ground. That's it. Good. Yeah, nice. That's it. Okay, so this is the arc this way. This way, we use this kind of movement like in an ikkyo or minage, all these kind of movements. In this case, the other rotation. So in this case, play with this rotation, which goes from underneath this way. In this case, you're going to change the hands this way. Actually, you can change the hands as you like, but just now have a sense of an arc that comes from the top to the bottom, like from the bottom to the top, so a rising kind of movement. You can start by just keeping the feet down, really just rolling, and again, just looking for a really good structure. Pressing the weight into the feet, waving through the joints. That's good. Good. That's good. Start to kind of lighten the footwork. So pressing into one, start to release the feet, and then start to move. So waving top to bottom to top, low to high. Start to really press the feet, travel up. That's it. So moving laterally, forward, backward. And then start to move circularly. So move with the rotation. Nice. Okay, good. And then go to the same pattern and what we did before, rolling through and going over the joint. So now working in a bad structure, work now in movement. So you're going to play first with this kind of movement and really as if you're kind of ikkyo position where you're really going to be rolled out. Now just play with the feet, really rolling it out. You know, just kind of now dynamically, you get rolled out and then see if you can really follow it. Rolled out, see if you can really follow it with the joints. Allow the body to morph around the movement. That's it. So that way, and you've also got this kind of direction now. And again, see if you can really follow it. So now moving the feet, really kind of maintain the structure. This way. This way. Good. Yes. Good. Yes. Yeah. Good. That's it. Okay, I'm really trying to increase the range of movement. So in this case, really it starts coming down into the ground now. So really going to challenge your ability to stay with the jaw, stay connected this way. Okay. Now the things I want to avoid, there's two things the main things I want to avoid are counterbalancing, where what happens is this joints come out, and then what happens is I start to kind of counterbalance in the back weight. Now this is classic resistance against the flow of the movement. So this, and this. Or this, and the body starts kind of counterbalance the movements out this way. This is where my balance is being split. And this doesn't work at high speed, high intensity. If the technique's been put on and I'm pulling out this way, or I'm pulling out this way, this is where the body's splitting, and you will find out very quickly this doesn't really work. Not at full speed, full power. So in a sense, try and avoid this. So really try and have a sense of one piece is going to join it. Now that doesn't mean, the second point is that I kind of throw myself into it. So I don't actually lose my balance in this kind of movement. You lose your balance, but you don't throw it away. So I don't throw the balance away. So this is a kind of fine line between resistance, pulling back, counterbalancing, joining the movement without actually losing the balance. This is basically throwing myself. So I can either resist it or I can throw myself into the movement. I don't want to do either of those things. I just want to respond to what's really going on in the movement. And that means I need to really join the body to the movement. This way. So now you can use the hand. If you've got one hand free, you can play with really kind of touching the ground into it. So don't think about being manipulated. Think about it's actually an active choice that I make to go to the ground. Yeah, and I'm actively following my own structure. So it's being taken out by someone, but in this sense, I'm just following it. And come to the ground. I'll start with the ikkyo, but roll, and just come right into the ground. You can go as far down into the ground as you like. Roll into it, and then come out of it. Yeah, just play with that. So really increase the range of movement, going all the way to the ground, if you like. That's it. So, good. Yeah, exactly. Great. Yeah, super. Yeah, exactly. Okay, and the other thing I don't want to do, we talked about this yesterday, where my center line is always going to be between the two hands, or it's going to be actively seeking a connection between the two hands. Now, it's actually the same here. What I want is the center, in this case, just the one hand, is to really be connected between, so between my two hands, what's going on here, this kind of sense. This is where I keep my active connection with the partner later, but what I want is a sense of this, and what I want to avoid in this case is this kind of movement, where I'm actually losing the center. So I've lost the center totally now. In this case, I'm totally out of the body this way. And in this sense, in partner work, this is where I totally lose the person. This is where I'm exposing the back. I'm exposing the back of their head, and I have no idea what's actually going on in the movement. So in this case, stick with the Ikkyo and really have a sense of the center line of the body is actively pressing in. What I'm looking for with the UK is to respond and come out for a second attack. So what I'm doing is trying to continue my attack. So in a sense, what I want to do is keep the connection, even in the ground. I want to keep a sense of connecting into the center line. So even though the center line's being controlled and taken away from me, I want to rejoin it. So I want to be able to rejoin it straight away. This kind of stuff. So you can play, in this case, play with having the technique done this way, and then have the feeling of coming out, and you're going to do it back. Okay, so have the feeling of rolling out into it. And then when you feel like it, roll back out, down into the ground, and have the sense of coiling up, taking back the center line, and controlling the center line again. Yeah, so just kind of go in and out of control of the center line. So you're kind of morphing the body around the center point. Just give it a try. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it. Great. Good, good, good. Yeah, that's it, that's it, that's it. Yeah.
Are we doing Kaishiwaza here, Mike?
Yeah, I love it. Fourth dan, preparation. Okay, good. And if you got used to that, you got used to kind of Ikkyo move, start to work in the Kotegaishi kind of movement. This is actually much harder. The body's really going to have to coil through. So in this case, really come down. And then what I want to do is really use the legs again. Really come into the ground. Now in this case, I don't use the hand to support myself. So in this case, for the Kotegaishi, I don't kind of reach over and find the hand. In a sense, really try and roll into the body. If you can, really get a sense of coiling in and sitting into the ground. So if you've got a soft ground, or you can take it just really slow, have the sense of coiling in, connecting to the arm. This coils around, and then I really coil into the move this way. This way. And really, again, join the movement of the arm. Comes out, coils, and then I follow it. Coils out, down, this way. And then really have a sense of coiling into the ground. Yeah, give it a try. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, good. Okay. Good. So you can think of this movement in terms of Kotegaishi, also in terms of Shihonage. So in this case, really feel that the arm gets taken around this way. In the classic kind of Shihonage, the body's going to be pulled this way. Now in this case, the technique continues, and if I stay in the position, try and hold my position as the arm goes, this is where I get into these kind of positions. This way it's going to be a very hard fall. So in this case, what you want to do is, as the body comes over, as I feel the arms trapped, I do start to move the body through it. So you can play with the drill a little bit. It rolls through here, and then really feel that I'm going to move from the feet this way to kind of take the strain off the joint. So in this case here, and then really have a sense of coiling the body through this way. If this was a kaishiwaza, what I'm looking to do is roll in underneath the arm. So the arm gets controlled. I want to kind of coil through underneath the arm to take it back. But in a sense, just follow it and then follow it back. So allow your body to be coiled out, fully extended with the arm this way. And then I bring my body into the arm this way. Yeah, so really actively moving the center line to protect the arm. Yeah, that's it. Ah, good. That's it. Good. Okay, good. So we'll run through what we did yesterday, just starting from the center point in the jaw, very similar to how we started before. Just take it very slowly and just coiling with the hips this way. You can also have the hands in contact with the center way and just rolling this way. So again, really keeping the structure low, keeping the movement coiling and working really from the center out. Once you've got this kind of connection between the center and the hands, start to press the hands away from the center. So feel it as if there's expansive ball being pumped this way out, and then bring it back, and then bring it out. So really slow, full. Have the sense when you do these kind of slow movements, really do them in a sense of being full. So I can do slow in a sense of being empty. Slow is kind of slow, but have the sense of slow is really kind of expressing power out as well. So really feel each kind of millimeter of the movement and feel it. Feel it and feel it. So really coiling down, pressing out from the body, really with a sense of the ground, hips, hands. That's it. And once you've really got a kind of strong sense of the connection with the center, start to keep the hands extended away, and then start to really move this way. So the hand's not really doing anything, just following the hips, allowing the center to press into the jaw, and then into the hands, or into the hands and then into the jaw. This way. That's it. Working kind of laterally, now start to work in a kind of spiral way. So starting to really kind of sink the weight down and coil into the ground. Sinking the weight, coiling down. You can also explore kind of rolling back this way, but also explore really now sinking down. Very kind of, imagine like a very dense, packed spiral that's in the core of your body, and it's just gonna kind of spiral from the core, and it's gonna kind of unravel. but at the moment we're keeping it very tight, very compact. So it's not really, it's a spiral without a kind of expression out. So really keep a sense of a very compact, tight spiral, like a seed. This is the seed of the spiral, very tightly packed, coiling. And when you've really got a sense of that, start to extend the hands. So extending the arms out, playing with the flexibility in the joint, and really reaching full extension. Good. And then start to move the feet, really with a sense of pressure, coiling, pressure and coiling, pressure and coiling. That's it. What you can also start to do once you've got the sense of the hands, you can start to open one hand as you do this. So you can start to work really now with kokyu, one hand in control of the jaw, and the other starting to express out. So starting to really open the joints. You can do this simply the same foot and hand, or you can do it across the body. This way. Think in terms of kote aishi movement. Think in terms of urimi nage movements. This kind of movement, but really kind of condensed at the moment. So very tight, packed spirals. That's it. And really also have a sense of direction that in the end, what I want to do is express the spiral downwards into the ground. So in a sense, almost everything we do, we don't really do uprooting and pushing the person. What we do is like controlling and pressing them down into the ground. But almost, yeah, all the techniques we finish by really pressing the person down into the ground, controlling them this way. So really have a sense that the final coil in the spiral, even when it's small, is really have the sense of pressing it into the ground. So as if my jaw is rested on the ground and my hand is pressing in the ground. So I really have a sense of feeling the ground through the end of the coil of the spiral. This way. Keeping it very tight. That's a small kind of movement. That's it. Yeah. That's it. Good. Keep going. That's it. Good. Good. And notice even now that the tendency is for the hands to start to override the movement. So the hands start to do it, the hands start to do it, the hands start to do it, and they start to push, pull, all these kind of things. Really, really try and get a sense that the hands don't really do it. They just follow the body. So really get a sense of a chain through the body, especially in this case, the arm. So if you get stuck in this, the hand starts to kind of, if you feel the hands pushing, the arms pushing, really have a sense of where the arm is starting from the back, the shoulder, into the biceps, triceps, and then elbow, and then forearm, and then wrist, and then into the hand and fingers. So really have a sense of the chain, the link that runs through the body, and really utilize it. So shoulder, arm, elbow, forearm, wrist, boom. And really have a sense of this coiling movement, this kind of sense. And this will hopefully prevent the feeling that the hands start to do it. That's it. That's it. Yeah, good. Okay, good. And then what we did yesterday, start to feed the hands through the jaw. So keep the center line. And in this case, you can roll through the back. So just play with one hand in the center and one hand coming down the jaw. So starting to now spread the hands. You do this a few ways. You can keep the hand where it is, and you can just roll out. Now, I'd say play with the center line and just take the hand as far as you like. So you don't necessarily need to find the end of the jaw. Just play with slightly different distances. We're really working on the same idea, coiling the spiral from the ground, hips, and then transfer that into the handwork. Yeah. And at the moment, just keep both hands kind of in a holding position, just so that the hands become kind of equal. So they're both pressing, holding, pressing, holding. That's it. So work in the center and pressing from either the base of the jaw, somewhere in the middle. That's it. Let's bring the hands in the center, pressing. That's it. Yeah, good. Yeah. That's it. That's it. Right. Okay, and really in this case, start to go using the body a bit more. In this case, also try and avoid, in this case, the body needs to be vertical all the time. But one of the tendencies is like this, and I'm making the movement and I'm pushing down. And again, this in terms of body work, this is my body splitting. So I'm trying to maintain a vertical when actually the movement that I'm doing is is an arc downwards. So what I need to do in this case, if you see this is kind of splitting out, what's happening with my body, my back starts to press out and my arms start to press down and forward. And this is the body doing two things rather than one. So, and this is a kind of dogma that comes from training where you need to keep the spine erect all the time. But all the way through the techniques, I need to keep the spine erect. This is one way of using the spine. Again, it's not incorrect, but it's just one way of using it. The other option you can do is really flex the spine. So really allow the spine to flex. And what I want to do is align the movement of the spine to what I'm doing with the hands. So my body work becomes one thing rather than splitting. So really now have a sense that from the top, all the way through the spine, especially into the neck and into the crown of the head and right into the brow actually, all the way down this line. Yeah, really have a sense of it joining into the movement. So I don't want to kind of break that line. I want to join it. This is the same dynamic we use in the cut. So when we make the cut, really having a sense that the body comes with the cut. The body comes with the cut. And again, you can do two things. You can keep the spine erect and do this kind of work. And again, not wrong, it's just a different way to use the body. But in this case, really have a sense of the body arcing with the movement. Just one thing, this way. So start to play now with the movement. Yeah, really with a sense of down into the ground. And what I'm really looking for is how much can I align my structure to the movement that I'm doing. So my intention is one thing, to press the person into the ground through a spiral. How much can I use my body to do that? So really this kind of sense. Good. That's it. Great. Good. Okay, now you're going to explore again, going into the ground. So now use the tip of the jaw right at the end, and you can slide the hand as much as you like down, as much as is comfortable. What I want you to do is establish a connection down into the ground, and then really have a feeling of completing this spiral work down, and it continues coiling, pressing into the ground. So now you're going to press between the hands, here with the center work, into the tip, and have a feeling of extending my connection between the center and the hands now into a third point. So in this case, back into the ground here, and then continue pressing it until you reach a kind of full sense of, I can't press anymore. I can't compress my structure anymore into the ground. This is when the technique's really sealed. I've sealed the connection. I can't go anymore. I can't go any further with it. So just play with now, moving, coiling, establishing into the ground, press into it, and then press the center through it. Really with a sense of sealing the connection totally with the ground. Give it a try. That's it. Yeah, good. That's it. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, good. And then there's three, again, different ways to use the body. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. What I don't want to do in this case is lean into the jaw. So this is one way to increase pressure into the ground. This is a very good connection into the ground, actually. I have a very clear connection into the ground. It's very good, actually. But in this case, I actually have very little control over it. If something's to change, I just fall into it. So I've sacrificed my balance in order to create connection. Now, this is almost all the time we're working in leaning, but you can play with it this, but actually I'm very, very, very much, all my connection is actually into the ground this way. If something slips, I just fall. So this is one way of using the body. Very effective way, but not so much control. The other way is using a kind of linear force. So in a sense, creating the connection and just pressing through in a kind of linear way this way. This is where almost all kind of jiu-jitsu systems work, by using linear fulcrums this way. So I'm basically creating a connection, and then I just press in a linear straight path through the joint. Or this way, I just press in a linear way straight into the joint. So again, this is not wrong, it's just a different way to use force, so working linearly. In the case of Aikido, what we use is spiral force. So in this case, really have a sense of creating the connection, and then I'm going to really coil the ground. So this is a different way to gain control or gain pressure into the ground. In a sense, you're going to really coil the spiral. The benefit of this is it's multi-directional, and it's very hard to anticipate multi-directional force. Linear force is very easy to anticipate. Something comes straight at me, I can move it. But if something spirals at me, it's very difficult to kind of to compute what the hell is going on. So in this case, spiral forces are much harder to resist. So this is why the techniques in Aikido are ultimately kind of irresistible. You can't really resist them, because the body doesn't know how to resist spirals. It just goes with them. So in a sense, try and use spiral force this way. So really have a sense of coiling into the ground this way. Good. That's it. Yeah, good. Yeah, 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 great. Okay, good. And then basically just do this in movement now. So you're going to kind of take these movements that we were doing before, these kind of movements, and make a movement, and basically find a connection to the ground, press into it, and then release it. Find another movement. Keep it very simple. Think of just kind of ikkyos, kotegaishis, but rolling through the joint, establishing a connection with the ground, and then pressing into it. Release it. So roll, press, find the ground, and then fall into it. And again, just think of spiral work, rolling all the way through. Continue it until you reach the ground, and then press through it. So now see this, not different movements, but the continuation of one spiral that eventually coils into the ground. Okay, so we'll kind of quick revise of the movements we did yesterday. This is basically working against a ski attack, or what we would do against a ski attack is rolling to the inside and taking the hand on top. So as the thrusting hand comes in, you're going to either roll to the inside and take the top of the hand, or you're going to roll to and take on top of the hand. So in this case, just practice it like this. The Joe's in the same hand as the same hand, same foot, and you're going to really coil into the movement this way, establish a connection in the Joe here, and then roll through it. Find the top of the hand. Find the top of the Joe. So really coiling with the step, all the body together, coiling in, and then pressing down to the ground this way. So you've got that one, which gives you the possibilities of ikkyo, these kind of movements. So coiling in, opening the spiral out this way. And then the other one we looked at was like a kotegaishi, so coming to the outside, rolling to the back this way. So coiling in, again, establishing the connection with the Joe here, and then following it all the way down. And that clearly gives you a connection or a possibility into kotegaishi, these kind of techniques. Kind of technique. Yeah, just play with these two. So this is working inside, outside, on top of the arm, on top of the Joe. That's it. Good. So that's good. Great. Good. Okay, in terms of how much for the ikkyo, this is very clear. Also, actually for the kotegaishi as well, but in this case, really have a sense of this hand is really going to locate a spiral that rolls out this way. So very clearly, in a sense, this hand does a continuation of a spiral. So it coils down, it rolls up, and then it continues this way. Okay, but at no point is the extension lost. So when the ikkyo fails is when I'm using the muscular strength of the arm to kind of pull the person out. And rushing, in this case, to get to the elbow, and then pressing down into the elbow. But in order for the technique to function, I really need a strong extension here. What I want to do is coil this all the way out. This. And in a sense, this is what draws the person's balance away, this way. Without the kazushi and the ikkyo will always fail, almost always fail, without brute force. So in a sense, if I don't have this, if the person's here, they're just free to move, to kick, to punch, all these kind of things. So in a sense, when you do this, really focus on a spiral that's very clearly drawing the person away this way, and then finding the backhand, pressing it down this way. So really activate the spiral on the outside of the body this way, and then coiling in. Yeah. The same for the kotegaishi. Now in this case, it's this hand. It's this spiral that does it. So this coils out, and then in the case of the kotegaishi, I press in with the other hand this way. But in a sense, it will fail if I don't have the spiral in the arm. So without the kazushi, the kotegaishi will also fail. I just contract the arm and I'm in striking distance. So what you want is really a sense of coiling the person's arm out. So really keeping a sense of a spiral movement here. It's actually the same spiral both sides. It's just functioning on the opposite side. So really coil out. Open the spiral out from the ground. press in. So. That's it. That's it. Right. Great. Nice. Okay, good. So we got the other movement. So that's inside, outside, on top. So your other options are to take the arm from underneath this way. So we'll just start with the inside, underneath. So inside on top, inside underneath. So you're going to really, again, move the body, move the hands this way. This way, taking this way underneath. Now in this case, you're going to, rather than try and take the spiral this way, I reverse the spiral back out. This way, this way. And this is your classic entry for Shihonage. So rolling the spiral out and then stepping through and then cutting down to the ground. Yeah, so inside, underneath with the arm. Taking coil, open the spiral out and then enter through underneath and you're pressing down into the ground this way. Yeah, give it a try. So inside, underneath. Thinking about Shihonage, it's the most obvious movement to go to. This way. You both sides. Good. Okay, and one that you can do from here, we looked at kind of pinning movements. In this case, you can look at a kind of projecting move. So works within the same principle. Rolling underneath, here, open it out. Now this is going in, entering in with the arm, and then going for the elbow. In this case, you're gonna find the elbow, and you're gonna strike underneath the elbow with the arm this way. This is where the arm's forming as a striking move that we use contact into a connection, into a projection throw. So in this case, you play like this, go inside, open it out, and then with a sense from the back leg, rolls in. Have the sense of opening, really open it out, and then follow through with the body, making the connection out. Okay, keeping a strong connection with the ground. Roll it, open it out, follow through, pressing with the arm. Yeah, give it a try. So going to the inside. So really like a kokyunage. Using the Shihonage entry, hurl in. That's it.
Sorry, Michael, can I see that one again?
So you're going to go in this position. I'm going to bring the backhand in. Think like Shihonage. So I come in, and then I coil this, open this out this way. And imagine this is the arm. I'm just going to aim for the elbow now. So from the back foot, backhand, I'm going to press it this way. We've got this move, roll in, coil, open it out, and then really enter the body in, pressing in for the kokinage.
Thank you.
Oh, keep going. Good. Yeah. Good. Okay, and this again, this is really like a classic. You'll find this almost every martial art has this. So, however that martial art uses force or applies force, they'll do this kind of technique. In the case of like a jujitsu way, this way you'll use a kind of linear force. So I come in and I just slam into the elbow this way. Just using linear force straight into the elbow this way. Very effective, but quite brutal. So in a sense, if we use Aikido, you want to again spiral and spiral through the movement. Of course, this gives me the option to strike, but I'm still going to deliver the force with a spiraling move. This way. The spiral is going to be delivered by the arm this way. This way. And in a sense, for the spiral to work, I need this arm to be straightened out. So this, in this case, this is also spiraling. So in a sense, I don't want to leave it and then just hit it and keep this as it is, but I want to really pull it. So a sense of pulling, coiling through it. In a sense, I want to make the arm taut. I want to really draw the arm out. So this hand keeps extending it out. So in this case, keep the spiral moving in the opposite hand this way. So this is the same with the ikkyo. Both hands coiling, spiraling. In this case, coiling, spiraling this way. And then the entry comes in and it continues to spiral through it. Coiling this way, coiling this way. I just play with that. Rolling, continue to spiral, coil. Good. That's it. Good. Okay, you can play with that one. Or the last one, we'll do from the same side. We'll just stick to this one. Think about irimi nage. So you're going to coil it, open it out. This gives me one path. It gives me a path to enter across the body this way, as you've just done. So like shihonage, entering underneath the arm. But it also gives me a pathway to the back side of the body. So in this case, you're going to roll in, take this way. So you can think in terms of irimi nage. I'm going to come in, open, and coil into the back. Now in this case, I'm going to roll in and really press the arm out this way. This way. So just connect the handwork into the jaw here and really think about irimi nage. You're in this kind of position. I'm going to wave through the body and then press in to the end this way. And really with a sense of spiraling into the ground. So coil to the inside, open it out, coil into the back. This way, roll this over, and then press it down into the ground. This way. Yeah, just play with this one. Coil. Okay, good. Okay, so just practice in this case, just practice for the irimi nage. Take the center of the jaw. You're going to really establish the feet firmly in the ground. Again, I can use different kinds of force. You will also, irimi nage is in almost every martial art that deals with, in a sense, projections, grappling. You'll find this. Again, I can use kind of a linear force, either a circular force. Mostly you'll see this as done as a circular way. So kind of raising and lowering the arms this way. Raising and lowering the arms. In this case, in Aikido, really try and use like a spiral force. So you're really going to press from the ground and really have a sense of a chain moving through the joints. So really pressing this way. Pressing this way. And the spiral obviously finishes in the ground. So really sense of coiling, coiling the whole joints, rolling through. So in this case, you're going to really just finish the coil of the spiral here. Now, in order to continue it, I press from the foot, press into this foot, and then press the foot through, and continue the spiral now into the ground. So establish the position, coil through, coil as much as you can without moving the feet, and then press through the foot, coil into the ground. That's it. Good. Yeah. Yeah. Good. And then the very last thing, just do this a little bit more in movement fluidly. So roll into it and then coil press it. Okay. Really have a sense of finality of pressing into the ground. So you're really going to have the feeling when you do the Taijutsu, really you're pressing the person through the ground. I want to kind of put them right the way into the mat. So not just kind of land them on the mat, but I want to really press them through it. So really with a sense of pressing through into the ground. Okay. This way, coil it, pressing down. Really have a sense of flexibility and fluidity in the hand. Coiling, pressing the spiral, pressing down, really into the ground. Coiling. This way. Good.
Michael, this looks like reverse iriminage. Well, I mean, normally, if I enter like this, somebody should be holding it so I can get it out of my way. And now I'm kind of blocking myself. You know what I mean?
Show me.
Okay, I mean, normally iriminage, this is the entry, right? This is the entry. So the bokun should be, sorry, the jaw should be here, but now the jaw is here. So how can I block and attack at the same time?
In this case, my hand's actually. Oh, let's see. In this case, I'm not holding the backside. So I'm not holding the backside and trying to get around it. In this case, that way. But what I'm doing is holding the middle. So in this sense, what I'm doing is rising up this way, coiling down this way. You see that? In the movement, what I do is this, and this hand's free. And then what I do is open it out, and then I take this way.
Okay.
To listen to the movements we were doing, I'm basically going to transfer the jaw from that hand to this hand. The hand that does the throw is passing through that way. You see that?
I kind of transferred, but the entrance didn't make sense.
Yeah. In this case, you're gonna if you just do the entry, you're gonna have the jaw like this way.
Okay.
Just press up this way. So
Okay.
the hand already in the middle.
Okay.
And then you can pass it. If you start here, you won't be able to get around.
Okay. Thank you.
This way. Okay, I can. That's it. Okay, good. So I'll show you those movements just so you've got them if you want to practice them. you basically got inside on top this way, and then coiling over. Think like Ikkyo, Nikkyo, all these kind of movements. You got inside, underneath. Inside, outside on top, outside on top. This way, and in this case, you can think of kotegaishi this way, kokyunage this way. And then the last one we introduced here is inside and taking underneath. The classic one from here is like shihonage, pressing into the ground. We've also got the ability to go into projection. So inside, underneath, rolling through. Or inside, underneath, and then rolling to the outside. The kokyunage into iriminage work. Yeah? So those are the three. Inside on top, outside on top, and then inside underneath this way. And then we'll look at the last one another time, maybe tomorrow. Okay, good. Super. Domo, arigatou gozaimasu.
Arigatou gozaimashita.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tupa.